reviewing Math Coach's Corner, which is a blog by Donna Boucher, who is a math interventionist in Texas. I really like this site and I would recommend it to teachers or future teachers because it has a lot of good resources on it. One thing that I really like about this site is this search by topic bar. So it has a ton of different categories that you can choose from, grades or math area, and it's just a really easy way to navigate the site. Another thing that I really like about this website is that it has a tab for books, and if you click on it, it gives you a link to a store where you can buy different math books, which I think could be really helpful for teachers. So, yes, I would definitely recommend this website for teachers for those reasons. The blog post that I chose to use is called Comparing Fractions Using a Benchmark of 1/2. It is the third blog post in a 3-part series. It is based around the concept that understanding why a fraction is close to 0, 1/2, or 1 is a good beginning for fraction number sense. It begins to focus on the size of fractions in an important yet simple manner. So, it's really working on developing number sense about fractions based on whether it's equal to, less than, or greater than 1/2. So, to start off, the author wants you to use fraction tiles. So if you don't have fraction tiles yourself, you can click on the link and there's a printable version. There's colors and non-colored ones if you want the students to color them themselves. And you just cut them apart and they can manipulate them. One tip that she includes is that when she uses fraction bars, she draws a timeline above the number 1 so that students can see that the smaller fractions have to fit somewhere between 0 and 1 on a number line. That way they get that visual of, okay, fractions that are less than 1 have to fit between 0 and 1 on a number line. The first part in this activity is to challenge students to use their tiles to find different combinations of fractions that are equivalent to 1/2. So this is where you'll have the students using different ways to figure out, okay, if I put these two together, it'll make 1/2. And then once they have that, you can write them down on the board, but do it in a random order such as this. Don't put them in order like 2/4, 3/6, 4/8, because then the students will focus on that relationship rather than the relationship between the numerator and the denominator, which is what you want them to focus on for this activity. So after you have them written on the board, ask the students, what do you notice? And then be prepared to answer for many different answers. One thing they might say is that the numerators are in order or count by 1s. They also might say that the denominators skip count by 2s. These are both good observations, but you really want to push them towards making observations between the numerator and denominator of a single fraction. So, once they get to that point, they might say, if you add the numerator again, you get the denominator, or they might also say 2 times the numerator is the denominator. Both of these will lead to them saying, or realizing, that the numerator is actually 1/2 of the denominator. And that's the point that you want them to ultimately get at, is that the numerator is half of the denominator, and that's what makes it equivalent to 1/2. So, that's the ultimate point of that number sense activity. After that, you can give them some higher or different fractions and ask them what the numerator would have to be in order for the fraction to be equivalent to 1/2. And this is a higher DOK level question that allows them to think, okay, if the numerator is half of the denominator, what does it need to be to equal 1/2. The next step is to have students determine if the fractions are less than, equal to, or greater than 1/2. So you're comparing the different sizes of the fractions. And this is a really fluency building activity. There's fraction cards that you can print out and use, and these are really neat, and I think they can be used for many other activities as well. But you'll have the students use the fraction tiles to build the fraction that's on the fraction card. So here in a minute I will show you what the fraction cards look like. Here they are. They're really cute. They have different backgrounds, and there's a range of different numbers. You can use these for many different activities. I would probably laminate them because I feel like you could use them again and again. There's also a wild card that you could make a game out of them. So yeah, this activity, you show them the card, you have them build it, and then you have them verbalize their thinking. Because it says that verbalizing their thinking is really critical because it helps them internalize the relationship between the numerator and the denominator when fractions equal to 1/2. There's also timelines that you can incorporate into, or not timelines, but number lines that you can incorporate into the activity. They're printable as well. This might be something else that you want to laminate and use for a different activity. And what I really like about this blog post is that it has all of the materials right there, easy for you to use. And that's all. So I would definitely recommend this activity because it is hands-on, it's student-centered, and it's really challenging them to form the relationships in their mind without you directly telling them. Like it says, what do you notice? And what would the numerator have to be? So they're thinking of the reasoning on their own rather than the teacher telling them it, which makes it higher DOK. It also helps them develop number sense because you're comparing it between different numbers. They're visualizing it. They're talking through their thinking, so they're really developing their number sense of what a fraction is and what a fraction looks like. And then they're building fluency with the cards at the end. They're also building their concept about equality in this activity. So some advantages are that there are the materials there, it's step by step, it's hands-on. One thing I might is I would add in maybe a word problem to help the students relate it to real life.